Hey, 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 and welcome to this week's most exciting, most unique, and most incredible podcast. Now, what we're about to do in this podcast is like no other than I've ever done before. I'm about to take you on a journey where you're going to understand the concept of having the biggest aha moment and how that can completely turn your life around. We are going to open up a new door that is usually closed and kept behind the scenes. We're going to invite you to come in and learn about a real life healing from a distance, and yet, as you witness it, you are going to have your own downloads, you're going to have your own inspirations, and you are going to have a taste of what it's like to shift your frequency. So, are you curious? Well, if you are, so am I. Because I'm about to go out on a limb and do something I've never done before, because I'm about to become a client for a beautiful woman whose gift is unexplainable. She asked me that she wanted to be known as absolutely nothing. When I asked her what she wanted to be known for, it was absolutely nothing. Now, in my world, what that tells me is that absolutely nothing means absolutely everything. It's limitless. And this is a place and a space where you can become limitless too. Because this is a place that the humble silence can reveal itself. And that mystery and that aha moment that this divine woman is able to give people to change the trajectory of their lives is nothing short of phenomenal, and yet it is a gift from God above. So come and enjoy the real magic. And as I bring her on, I can tell you what her name is, but I'm not going to put her in a box or give her a title other than to let you know she is the queen of aha moments, and she is the insightful, discerning woman that wants to be known as nothing. And yet I say everything. So, with no further ado, I give you the beautiful Sandra Cooze. Hello, Sandra. How are you?
Hello, Terry. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm going well. I'm nervous. I must say, I'm very nervous because I'm about to enter into your space. And, I mean, we can be like there's nobody here that's listening or looking, and you can just be incredibly yourself. But let's start this by explaining to our audience where you come from, because, you do deal in trauma. So,
Yeah.
trauma is something that you believe keeps people in the way of themselves. It keeps them stuck. Can you talk me through a little bit about trauma and how it affected you and what you've known about that?
Sure. Well, where should I start? I've had quite a few traumas in my life. I was molested when I was 12, sexually harassed at 14, bullied in school between the age of 16 to 17, sexually assaulted multiple times between the age of 19 and 25, raped at 22. And when I went to see a psychologist to help me because I didn't like the person I had become, he dismissed me after my intake session with the words, "You've already worked through it all. What am I supposed to do?" And then I hit rock bottom because I was deserted. Friends and family couldn't help me, and mental health professionals didn't know how because they were not trauma informed, and I had a choice to make. I had to choose whether I want to be staying down at rock bottom and maybe go into drugs or alcohol, or even worse, take my own life, or if I would climb back out. I climbed back out, and that led me on the most amazing healing journey. Aha moments were a constant in my life, and I learned so much about trauma, what it truly is, and what it really stops us from becoming.
I love that. It's so trauma stops us from what we are becoming, and yet we become as a result of our trauma. Like you said backstage, Oprah Winfrey inspired you with her wounds. Was it wounds to wisdom?
Turn your wounds into wisdom, yeah.
Wow. And I say pain to power and story to glory. So that is what this is definitely all about. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty piece of the session, I want to give you the stage to talk to me about the quartz. The moment when one of your friends told you you better get one already, and, explain to the audience, and I want to know myself because I'm probably going to go out and invest in one. So I would like you to talk about what it is and what your friend meant by get one already and what effect it can have on a person's life or, most importantly, your own life.
Of course. Well, the day that happened, I still smile about because it was so profound, and yeah, it was kind of funny actually when you think about it. I was in my early 20s. It must have been like a month or so after I went to see the psychologist. I had a friend, and he was very spiritual. His father was a Reiki master. He knew about energy and crystals and all that, and I knew nothing. Now, I grew up in Germany where everything is more religious and spiritual, at least back then it was. So there was no one who really could explain to me about spirituality, and except for him. So, and one day he came to visit me. He saw me sitting on a couch looking like a heap of misery. I was totally defeated. And he stood in front of me, hands on his hips, stern face, and said, "Get a quartz crystal already." And I had absolutely no idea what he meant.
That's so funny. And what did he mean? So tell us, what is a quartz crystal and what can it do for us?
Okay, well, crystals emit energy. It can be proven, there's already books written about it. So there's actually scientific proof behind that. And every crystal vibrates in a certain frequency. So let's say when you have a cold, you're sick. So then your frequency is different. And then you can take a crystal that helps with colds and flus, and it will rebalance the frequency to where it should be and help you heal. Now, this
Wow.
is the same with trauma or anything else, which means the quartz crystal is also called the poor man's diamond because it's so powerful in helping us heal. So it equals the monetary value of a clean cut diamond. And what we do is, well, my friend and I, we went to a flea market and went to buy a crystal, and he explained to me that I needed to take them in my hand and see which one felt right. For some, it maybe they start to tingle, or they get warm, or they just feel good in the hand, or you cannot let it down. I could not take this crystal out of my hand even if I wanted to. It's like it was fused. I could not muster the power to take it out of my hand. So this is a sure sign that you're supposed to take it. Wow, this is the
That's
best one of all.
amazing.
And
Well, I think I'm going to go out on the weekend and get myself a quartz crystal. So I do love them anyway. So I'm a magpie. I love shiny things. And, I'm getting very nervous because we're about to go into and I want to tell people why we're doing this because, as a podcaster, my role is to bring out the genius zone in everyone. And, this is something that we all have within us. And when I went on a deep dive with you, Sandra, what I discovered is it's not about a title. It's not about all of these certifications or accreditations. This is about a limitless discerning, healing, and an element that comes from total experience, and also almost like you've been led by spirit. So, we decided that we would do this on the show, which is very unique. And I'm giving permission, and maybe people won't even get to see this. Who knows? Maybe you'll be lucky enough to see this. Maybe you'll be fortunate and blessed enough to hear it if you get to hear Sandra Cooze's beautiful way that she'll just, go into this session with me. But firstly, I want to set the mood here and say, if you are listening and you know yourself that you've got a challenge, you've got something in your life that you understand that you're blocked by trauma, I want you to know that as you hear these words and this conversation that happens between Sandra and myself, this is really going to pour into your spirit. Your vibrational energy is going to rise. And I'm going to say, especially when you stay to the end, because there's going to be moments where we're going to go through the mud a little bit, and there's going to be questions that Sandra's going to ask. However, you stay to the end, your energy is going to rise. So is that okay with you, Sandra, if I say that? Because I just did.
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's get down in the mud. Like I say, let's get down, grounded and dirty, or whatever we need to do. And I'm going to hand over to you. I guess if I'm coming to see you, what would be, what's the first thing that comes up that you would ask? And I'm going to let you take it away from here.
Okay. Well, first, if you came to me, we would have an intake session. So where we would get to know one another, because what's important for me is that you feel safe with me. Because if you're going to go deep in your trauma, you have to feel safe to actually really dig deep. So if you don't like me, it's not going to work.
Yeah, we call that rapport building. So there's your first teaching, everyone. Build rapport. Whether you're a coach, healer, leader, or whether you are a parent, teacher, or a friend, if you want to be influential, build rapport.
Yes, very important. And as a trauma healer, the first thing is you need to be healed. I always tell my clients who want to go into trauma healing like I do, or any other modality that has to do with other people, you can only help someone heal as far as you have healed yourself.
Wow, that is profound. Did you grab that, everyone? You can only heal as much as you've been healed yourself. Wow. So the more you get healed, the more profound. And I know from my own community and a lot of my community, they literally sit and wait for 7 p.m. Friday night for the podcast to drop, because they know they're all coaches, healers, and leaders, and they want to get inspiration. So they're going to love that. They're going to love hearing that.
Wonderful. Okay, you're ready?
I am. I am ready. I am so ready. And I even allowed that silence to just create that scene, so that I guess obviously you're picking up on some energy as well.
Yes. So how would you like to start? Would you like to give a teeny backstory of what we're going to talk about as we did backstage? And
of
then
course.
we
Yes.
dive in?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So backstory, I did transform my life massively in 2006. And I won't go into that detail, but there was a massive transformation of a lot of my life. And then I asked myself the worst question ever about 18 months ago. And that was that because I've been practicing as a trainer, coach, healer since 2006, I said, well, if everyone's evolving out of their trauma, and if every new level is a new devil, you know, what's my next level? Oh. And I'll tell you something very interesting, Sandra. And this was a little bit different. I had an astrologist on the show, and you know, we didn't do what we're doing exactly. But we give a little 5 minute, maybe a 3 to 5 minute sequence where they can bring their treasure to the show, so that our listeners can really benefit. And so we said, oh, well, let's do some astrology, you know, and, you know, you can do me. And I gave her all my elements, my star sign, when I was born, etc., etc. And she was shocked when we got to the end of the show for those 3 minutes. And she started to talk about, you know, she told me some things. And then when we wound up and we finished the show, she went, Terry, she said, I didn't want to say it on the show. She said, but you're not going to be where you are. And I was in this great big 2-story dream fairy tale house with my husband, a chiropractor. She said, you know, everything's going to change. And I could tell she was holding back from me. And, you know, and there she was. And she wasn't that experienced, to be honest with you. And she won't mind me saying this because it was true. But she gave me more wisdom than I had from someone who had been around for 20 years in her industry. And so it meant to be, well, not meant to be, what happened was that we went on this journey. And long story short, my husband went on a journey where he just went into a big downward slide, and he got vascular dementia, or diabetes 3, as a result of out of control diabetes. But we were, you know, he was struggling for a while, but we didn't know. But then he doesn't do anything in half measures. So this day now, bringing it into the now, he can't talk, he's nonverbal. So he can't walk and he can barely move. So I sort of value the moments where he's lucid, and I find myself, I'm a very strong advocate. I'm very good at what I do as well. But a lot of doctors and a lot of people in the authority areas are having a lot of problems because I am his voice and I'm speaking for him. And I, at the moment, if I'm going to be like present tense, are going through where I can see they've put him on a medication that has made him decline even further. And he can't even swallow food. And I'm telling them, really, you know, this has got to stop. And I suppose if I'm looking at it from my own trauma, it's probably around feeling like I'm not being heard. And then there's this battle of, if I'm going to be truly honest, because I've still got that, of course I'm a human being. So even when I'm reaching out and I'm saying what I'm saying, I still have this little thing in the back of my head is I'm being judged. They're going to reject me. They're not going to like me. This is going to happen. And I find that there's that part of me that shrinks. And I mean, even someone very close to me says, maybe you just need to shut up, whatever, I don't know. But then another part of me says, no, keep going. And so what's my trauma? I guess my trauma is obviously that I feel like I can save the world and I feel like I want to rescue him. Yes, I'm going to be honest. And yes, I am advocating and I've walked through the trenches to do it. But then there's that thing of me that's feeling like I'm not being heard. And I'm in fear of what's going to happen to him as a result of not being heard. Is that, you can ask me any questions from that if you like.
Thank you. Thank you for being so open. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is energy frequency. What I mean is, we as healers, as divine beings, we are already moved in the fifth dimension. But the doctors, the nurses, they're all in the third dimension in the system still. So, which means when you come from a higher level of the vibration, your words are different. The energy of your words is different. So it doesn't resonate with them.
Oh
Which
my
means,
God. Boom. Right there. Sorry, can I just grab that? That is true, because they're like, what's she talking about?
mm,
And I can sense that, and they don't know, and I don't know, and we're going like this. But
exactly.
that's it.
Exactly, because your vibration is higher, and it's not about the words, it's about the vibration of the word. That's like when you have a discussion with a friend, a co-worker, someone, and they just say, what did you just say? What did you say? I don't get it. What did you just say? And you're like, do I speak Chinese or something? You know?
Actually,
But
you're right about this. That is a huge aha moment right there.
right. So how you fix that is you go down to their level of understanding. I know.
Oh.
Yes, but they cannot get to your level. They're not there yet. So you have to, I wouldn't say dumb it down, but vibrationally dumb it down so they understand it's at their vibration. So you can watch how they're talking. The doctors, if especially if they're male, they're probably a little condescending. Like, what does she know? Go to
Exactly.
their level.
How did you know that?
Go to their level of understanding. It's
And
like
look,
with
yeah, and look, I don't mean anything negative about them when I go, oh, it's just that I just cannot believe how on point you are. Like, wow, that is massive. I do need to just acknowledge you there, because that is a massive aha moment. I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that that's what it was. That, there's, and I should know, because I'm a teacher of rapport. And what do you do when you rapport? You get onto people's levels. I didn't even see that.
and that's usually the main issue with anything. It's always about energy, always about vibration. So you basically need to match how they're talking, not in the aggressiveness or assertiveness, but the level they understand. So it's the same with Reiki. When you talk about to someone about Reiki and they're like, huh, what is this? So you go to their level. So usually I explain it in terms like how it happens in the body. Like you hit your elbow and it hurts. What do? You rub it. What happens with Reiki? Well, the energy works through the body, and when you hit it, then the energy gets paralyzed, and that's why you see stars. The energy gets stuck there for a moment and can't move anymore, and more energy is adding up to that energy jam. But if you rub it, then the energy gets mobilized faster. That's why the pain goes away faster if you rub the elbow than if we can't, then it takes longer. So I explained Reiki to them in a way that they can actually picture and understand, even though they have no clue about energy. Right? And the same as with any communication. They are not at your level energetically, so your words don't make sense to them. So
that's what it is.
lower the energy.
Okay. Dumb it down.
Yes, I don't like saying it like this because
And
you're not dumbing it down, but yes.
I know it's not dumbing it down, like they're smarter than me. They're in books and medics and all that sort of thing. So don't hear me putting them down.
Yes.
But what I'm getting is you're saying dumb down the energy, dumb down the frequency. So that's a very interesting, because I talk about that in terms of words. And, if somebody is talking very low energy and they're sort of speaking this, you don't come in and go, oh, whoa, 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 and then you're talking up here at a high level, because you're going to be hitting and missing. But what you're saying is exactly the same thing, only I didn't even get that, because it's an energetic component. And I have the utmost respect that I know that they know. I always know that everyone, it doesn't matter, they don't have to be a doctor or a medic to know more than me. But I believe that everybody will know something that the other person doesn't know, if that makes sense, because that's why the genius zone. So, okay, so do you feel by me actually, I guess, dumbing down the energy, because I'll just put it in that realm, and that is a huge aha moment. I mean, and you'd think that my energy would be terrible, wouldn't you? Because, I mean, what I'm going through, going through such a massive crisis, and yet my energy seems to be higher than I can even recall. Do you have any explanation around that?
Yes. Well, yes, your energy is a little lower because of that. And I already started doing my trauma Reiki on you, pulling some of the energy out and guiding in. But this is different. The vibration you're in is still higher because you're an enlightened being and you are embracing that. So this is two different things. You're still in the fifth dimension because your mind is already there. But your body, yes, is struggling and stress and worry and then anxiousness and then a little upset and anger, which is the next part of the communication. As soon as you let your emotions be seen or heard, they shut down and say, well, she's just an emotional woman. That's the downside of being a woman with all our emotions that are great, but men don't understand that.
Yes.
So, which means emotions have nothing to do in communication. As soon as emotions come in, they shut down.
Right.
So,
yeah,
the facts, logic, and most people, they think they have to explain and talk all the time. No, take a breather. Just internally breathe, count to 10. And as you breathe out, you let this frustration go. And then you focus on the task at hand, which is only the facts and why you don't want them to have that. Not because you feel. Don't ever start with I feel. You already lost them at the I feel.
right.
So you say, I see this. I see he's declining. I see he can't swallow. So
Right.
ask for the side effects of the medication or look it up yourself. So you have a sheet saying, well, this and this is the side effect. This is what he has. So get me something different.
Right.
Stay with the facts, be assertive, and don't let your emotions in. And this is the hard part.
That's huge. That is really, really huge. Stay with the facts and don't let the emotions in. So it's very, very interesting to do that and to say that, because it's interesting that part of my, I guess, upbringing and the way that I have, I guess, created stories and beliefs within myself have been around, kind of like softening the blow with everything. If you are telling someone something assertive, rather than sort of going in and just bang saying it how it is, kind of like almost putting cotton wool around it and allowing the landing to be gentle. But that doesn't actually work, does it?
No, I don't sugarcoat things. I'm being very direct and to the point, and my clients love it actually.
Yes.
So the same thing is in conversations, because if you're afraid to speak up, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? What is the very worst thing in this moment that could happen if you actually spoke up and set boundaries? What's the worst thing? They might be upset because they don't like boundaries. I mean, every doctor by default has a little bit of narcissism in them because they have to. They cannot get emotionally involved. They have to stay out of it. So they have this wall up. So of course they cannot deal with emotions. They don't want to. They have this all day long. So if you want to get through to them, be assertive. That's what they need.
Yes. So they need that assertiveness and very straightforwardness and just facts and figures. So you talk about, speaking of narcissism, and you've talked about some of your clients who have, found themselves with a narcissistic partner, say, for example. So I digress a little bit here, but it's interesting that just reminded me of this, because I know for people that are listening into this, it really comes down to relationships, isn't it? So it's all about relationships, and, what are we attracting? And, are we attracting narcissists into our life? Are we attracting, because really we've got to take our own responsibility, don't we? So even with myself, I've got to say to myself, well, what am I attracting here anyways? And what is it that I'm doing that's attracting that? And I noticed that when you were backstage, you were talking about how you help clients who have attracted narcissistic partners, and they've discovered that they're kind of like married, or they've got together with their mother or their father, or, a parent. And, what do you think that is about, where we do find ourselves in the same kind of pattern, different day, different week? Like, even though I'm talking about something tangible here, I can say that, look, even though I've never had this happen before in my life, I've had very similar incidences where it's about my assertiveness. And so it comes back to, what are we attracting? But what do you think is about us attracting the same sort of thing over and over again? Is it a life lesson so we can have that aha moment and move out of it?
Yes. It's very simple. It's, again, about vibration. Because when you're growing up, and you're growing up in a narcissistic family, then you don't know that this is what's happening. For you, this is just life. So if a child is abused, that's life for them. They don't know that this is wrong. And so they're growing up with that. And so they have a certain vibration around themselves. So with their limiting beliefs, their self-sabotaging behavior, their doubts, their fears, like people pleasing, for example, when you crave love and you do something nice for your parents. To say, as a toddler, you help them empty the grocery bags, and they give you this huge smile and say, thank you, that was so great, which parents think is a good thing. But what they teach their children is, well, you get love when you're doing something for me, even though that's not the intent of the parent. I mean, any parent does that, and encourages them to do more and better, but it can backfire. With narcissism, it's even worse, because they're never happy. No matter what you do, it's never good enough. So you try harder and harder and harder, and so you grow up believing you have to do things for others in order to be loved, or don't speak up, or the love is being taken away. So if you have your own opinion, it's not being liked by your parents. Well, like silent treatment. That's what I grew up with, even though my mother was not a narcissist, but still.
Yeah, I hear it. And it's interesting when we understand what is actually going on, that aha moment, as you most famously talk about, is very much the moment where we can go, okay, so now you've told me that. When I come to think of it, oh my gosh, why didn't I even think of that? Sometimes you need someone to actually help you. And this is where Sandra is going to help you have your aha moment. I can tell you, if I can have an aha moment in that short amount of time, just by speaking with this beautiful lady for 10 minutes, and maybe not even that, then imagine what you can get. But I just want to draw on something else we spoke about backstage, and that was when you looked at yourself in the mirror. Now, this is a very interesting one from my perspective as a clinical hypnotherapist, because, we always recognize that if a person needed to break a bad habit, usually what happens is that it's not about, okay, I want to be slim. However, what the world didn't realize is that, do you realize there's a reason that you are keeping the extra layers on? But I'd like you to talk about the story of what happened to you when you looked in the mirror and what you asked yourself, and then how that felt. Because I believe if there are people out there also listening that generally want to improve their body, let's face it, we just, the way we do anything is the way we do everything.
Mhm.
So, this is really about, the mindset and expanding it and being in that frequency. But can you share that story of what happened to you when you looked in the mirror and then
Yes.
what you discovered?
Sure. Well, after I was raped, I started to gain weight. I just wanted to become invisible because everything that happened was by different random men, and my body gained weight to protect myself, and men left me alone. So for the longest time, I was being overweight and tried one diet after another, and all of them failed. And one day I looked in the mirror and I tried to imagine myself having the body I used to have when I went through all those issues, all those traumas. And I realized I was terrified. I was terrified of being thin because I was afraid that all of this would just start all over again. So that made me understand that there was something I needed to heal first in order to feel safe to lose weight. And as I was going on a journey of working through that, so chipping away at the trauma and the fear of being thin, the self-love came up. And that was the next aha moment for me, is that self-love is the foundation of everything. So when you completely love yourself, you will not allow someone else to abuse you. When you love yourself unconditionally, your courage comes back, your conviction, your confidence. It's all within you. It's just buried underneath the trauma. And the more you heal, the more this comes up automatically. So when there used to be a time where I was walking somewhere, head down, don't look at me, I'm now walking straight back, looking straight ahead, and I have a stride that is full of confidence, but it's natural. It came back because I healed.
And,
So
that healing, people would listen to this, and I know what I'm almost hearing some of your clients out there that are praying for your service actually asking the question, what did she do? What did she do to recover from that? Because, the fact that you went through a violation of your body, and I just want to kind of bring forth the fact that it doesn't have to be something that happens to you in your 20s either, because I've heard of people who have gained weight and been carrying extra weight, and diets haven't worked, fads haven't worked. And then we discovered that it was the 8-year-old that was protecting themselves from being molested by an uncle, or it was something that they had deep in the recess of their subconscious mind to actually do that. And while people are doing all these diets, I think you might miss the magic in this that you just naturally expound upon. But when a person finds out what the reason is, like you did when you looked at yourself in the mirror and you suddenly became terrified because of the fact that, oh my gosh, that would mean that. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that wake up and they may learn from listening to this, having heard what you've said, that, oh, so there's a reason for this. There's a reason for my addiction. There's a reason for my body. So I can hear those voices out there, though, from your dream clients that are asking the question, what do I do to get over something like that? Because that physical violation So can we just kind of go a little bit into that?
Sure. Well, when it comes to trauma, there's three phases. There's the victim phase or stage, and then there's the survivor stage and the thriver stage. So when something traumatic has just happened, you're in the victim stage. So you're trying to process what happened, you're trying to make sense of it, and you usually come to the conclusion it has to be something you did, because there's no other reason why someone would do something like this. And once you move through the victim stage, you get to the survivor stage, which means you have gained a little distance and you can look at your trauma from a more distant perspective, and you can see it was not your fault. They chose to do this, and then you get angry. You get so angry at everything and everyone. You get angry at them. You get angry at yourself for holding on to this. You're frustrated with yourself. You're punishing yourself for A, you're holding on to that and not letting it go. And B, why did you let this happen? So you're still angry at yourself, but you're more distant. The problem with the anger stage, it can last your whole life. So many people are so angry because they don't understand that the anger, yes, it's important in your healing journey. It helps the distance, but it's also a mask. Anger is a mask for pain. It's easier to be angry than to actually feel what you're really feeling. So once you get through the anger and go deeper and look at what's really going on and you see the hurt, then you're ready to heal. Because then you understand the pain. And then when you get into the thriver stage, the trauma is in your way. You're frustrated, you want it gone. And that's usually when my clients find me. They just want it gone. They're ready. They're so ready, they want to do whatever it takes. And that's the best time to heal, because before you may go seek therapy and think the therapist is pulling the trauma out of you. But that's not how it works. You have to let it go. I can't pull anything out and you're not willing to let go.
Oh, wow. Is that why I'm feeling so free? I mean, I just want to bring some conscious competency here, but you talked about, because I think it's very important for people to know that if they're going to come into your portal and your space and experience your beautiful divine work, from my own self, just giving that snippet of what I've done, I feel such a sense of freedom. However, you also said that you did some healing on me.
Yes.
And I didn't even know. So can we talk a little bit about that? Because I can tell you right now, and for everyone out there listening, I do feel very set free, very much indeed. So please explain.
Sure. Well, when I'm in a session with my client, I always use trauma Reiki, which I developed and going to start teaching soon. It's basically when you're talking about issues, we talk about things that trigger you. So, and the trigger that comes up with a lot of energy. And it is the energy that makes this trigger so intense. It's not the memory itself, it's the energy that's attached to it. So as we talk about the issue and you get your aha moments, with every aha moment, more energy is coming up. Because suddenly something makes sense. So something that was frustrating you is coming up, and I just pull out the energy and then it's gone. So it doesn't bother you that much anymore. You have the aha moment, you're already working on changing it and adjusting. Let's say you're talking with the doctors, like how you're going to approach them. You probably already think about that, making the plan of how to do it differently. Because now you have the freedom, because you're not held back by that trigger and by those limiting beliefs attached to it, because I'm pulling out the energy that's coming up with it.
And you know, I'm sure a lot of people want to know more about these trigger things, right? So could it be that I talk about pain to power, story to glory. This is what the Genius Zone is all about, because there's always going to be a backstory. So every divine person that comes on this show has this story, and it's that story that connects with their clients, and they go, oh my gosh, how did they heal from that? And that's what makes them want to get in contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of wondering to myself whether, you know, even though I do believe that it is a case of, the fact that those triggers were there, and they may have been a hindrance, and they may have caused a bit of grief, if you will. The fact that somehow or rather they were healed, and now I know why, but now I'm kind of in that mode of asking the question, do you feel that it's come from unresolved trauma from my past, where perhaps, like, I had a couple of my very close loved ones who had accidents, who were hospitalized, who were in these situations where I know I felt a lot of pain. Do you think it came from that?
It's very possible that these are connected if they're right on the same trigger, because a trigger is something that is like, trigger is a memory that has been within you for a long time. So it's basically, if the emotion in this moment in the situation is the same, then yes, that would bring it back up. Which is why sometimes if I work on deep trauma with my clients, there's so many flashbacks coming up from different moments, but they all have the same trigger.
Yes.
So because they felt the same way in that moment. And so the body is like, oh, but the trigger is basically a guiding light toward what needs healing. If there was nothing to heal, a trigger wouldn't be there.
Wow. Did you just hear what that lady just said? Now, do you have a trauma that is in your way? Do you have a vision that you want to be better, but you know there's something stopping and blocking you? Well, how would you like to be able to have an aha moment and a healing session in as little as, what are we here, 46 minutes? We did this in probably just 40 minutes. Well, go to the show notes and get in contact with this beautiful lady, because she is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you,
Sandra. That is so incredible. I love that. And I mean the triggers. Yeah, it's like the same energy. Like you really specialize in energy and frequency. And we didn't say this, but I feel that it needs to be said. And that is that you are a person who everything you touch turns to gold. I'm just going to put it out there like that, because you're a creator, you're a writer, and I mean, you only have to look at your background. So you believe that the environment, and I think this is how we're going to sort of conclude the show. And I'm going to ask you a question here, but I'm going to point it towards this because it is your specialty. And that is that I always love to say at the end of the show, if you could share something with a person that's out there that's absolutely just praying to hear what you've got to say. And it might be something you've already said, or it might be something that you get off the show and you think, oh, gee, I wished I had said that. I want to give you the opportunity to share that right now, but I do want to kind of just frame it a little bit with the fact that you are an energy person that believes in the environment and our environment that we live in, having that high energy. Would you like to give us some of your wisdom on that?
Sure. We think that healing and energy is all about us, but that's just a fraction of it. What's so important, for example, is the energy of your home. My home is high vibrational, which means I only have things displayed that bring me joy. Anything that doesn't give me a good vibe, or that I don't really care about, is going, whether it was a gift or something I bought and I outgrew it. Because a lot of people, they hang on to gifts because they think they have to. But if it takes on dust in a cupboard somewhere, it's not bringing you joy. It's becoming an annoyance, because you say you could use that space for something else, but you have to keep it. So see it as you donated and someone else will be thrilled to have that. So then it has new energy and it fulfilled its purpose. So high vibrational home is so important so you can heal. The same with your relationships. You will meet two people in your life, those that have already healed and will pull you up to their level, like I do, or you will meet someone who has not yet healed and will drag you down to there so they feel more comfortable in the space they're at. So those two kind of people you will meet, and you need to differentiate. You need to understand what they do. So if someone makes you feel bad, uncomfortable, or make you feel guilty for whatever reason, feel shameful because they just like to do that, or they feel better when they can drag you down, they're not your friends. They're like, it sounds harsh, but they're like parasites because they choose not to do their healing. If they would, they could be at your level and rise with you, but they choose not to. So as you rise, they will fall away. And then you will meet more people who are at your level. And then you will more people who are even higher than you and help you to the next level of your being. So it's all about your surroundings, and your trauma is just one aspect of it.
Wow, that's so good. I love that. You have just brought so much. I could just go on for ages and ages, and we've absolutely exhausted what we say. It keeps people's attention span right there, here and now. I just want to remind everyone, please go to the show notes. We have all Sandra's contact details there. It might be just a click of the button away and your life can change like that, because energy is everything. Sandra, I just want to thank you so very much for coming on the show and just for what you've done for me. It's absolutely, I can say, hand on heart, my energy has shifted for the better in that short time that I spoke to you. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I'm so glad it helped.